encouraged today. Lyndon is the CEO of Dynatech. Dynatech is located in Lebanon, PA, so not too far from everybody regionally, and they deliver power through confidence through sales and service and rental emergency power equipment. Something I'm a little familiar with, so hopefully Lyndon can speak into it, and I'll let him take the floor from here.
Yeah, that's our tagline, is delivering power and confidence, power to those that don't have it and confidence to those that do. And that's actually, well, from a business perspective, that's a generator, but I think all of you guys know that's also Jesus Christ. Yeah, as a little introduction, this is my family. I don't know how well you can see that, but anyway, there's my, we have 2 adopted children, 5 children total, and so that's, I feel pretty blessed. I'll get into, I don't know if you remember my title of my little speech here was Burn the Boats and Engaging and Meaningful Conversation. And I'm going to start with a story. And the story took place in 1519. In that year, a man set sail for Cuba, headed for the Yucatan Peninsula. And with him, he had 500 soldiers, 100 sailors, 16 horses, and they were all on 11 ships. And their goal was to defeat the Aztec army. And the Aztec army held the world's largest trove of gold and silver and artifacts. They had held this trove for 600 years, and everyone knew that this trove, about this trove, because army after army had tried to take it, and it had cost thousands of lives. That man's name was Hernan Cortez. I don't know if you remember studying that in your history books or not, but Cortez knew something that many fail to take into account, and that is he knew that he had together an army of committed men far beyond the ordinary people to pull that off. So rather than just signing people up like most leaders do, he engaged them in to discover, and the things he wanted to discover was their level of commitment, their dreams for the future, their hopes, their visions. And he also talked to them about the treasure. And he told them what that treasure was, where they were, what their lives would look like after they got the treasure, what their families would experience, the stories that would be told about them for generations to come, and how they were going to take that treasure. And he laid out a vision for his men and made it very clear. And he wanted them to visualize their return home and that treasure in their hand. But what he discussed with them the most was how they were different and than all the other armies before them. And then the big day came for them to set sail, but something really bad happened. And about halfway out to sea, Cortez woke up to the reality that he was in big trouble. The very people that he was were so gung-ho about his vision had turned into whiners and complainers. And I'm sure that to many of you sounds very familiar. And Cortez, they said, you know, I'm not sure I should be on this ship, and I'm not sure that it's clear what I signed up for. You know, my boots that you prescribed are pinching my toes. I don't know if I really believe in you like I thought I did. And, you know, on and on was they went. So when they reached their destination, Cortez didn't just, like all other conquerors do, just march in and go to war. He gathered everybody on the deck, and day after day, he had his deck meetings. And he told them again and again what the treasure was going to be like. He brought up committed men in the group to talk about what their children would grow up to be and look like if they would follow through in this mission and won the battle. And then they talked about the favor and honor their families would receive and be known for because of their brave decisions. And Cortez, you know, he poured his heart out, painting that picture and giving them that vision. So Then the day came for them to march in and take the treasure, and he had them gather around the beach for the last time. And as they gathered around, it got deathly quiet, and everyone knew this would be his final speech before they marched into battle. And they were all expecting him to lay out a detailed last-minute strategy. Like when the arrows start flying, you go here, and this group goes there, and this group meet me at such and such a coconut stump or whatever. And they had rehearsed their plans countless times, but no, what Cortez said was 3 words that changed everything. And I mean, changed everything. And it was deathly silent, and their hearts pounding, their eyes bulging out, and they were preparing for possible death. And Cortez just addressed them with 3 words, and those 3 words were change the game for everyone. And those 3 words were burn the boats. I'm sure they said, excuse me, but he said, torch the boats. And with that, they burned their own boats at his command. And after all he said, we're not going home. He said, we're going home in their boats. Now, you may remember that story from school, I'm not sure, but something very amazing happened. They fought very well, okay? For the first time in 600 years. Why? They had no choice. Their boats were burned. It was kind of like, take it or die. And I bet they considered that. They probably said, take it or die. Yep, I can do this. And well, I guess we'll take it. And they did. Cortez knew something I think that few leaders understand. People must be brought to a decision. If you really do appreciate people, you'll bring them to a decision. You think about that in your children. If you bring your children to a decision, it's because you really care as their dad. I don't really think anything of significance will ever be accomplished collectively if you don't bring people to a decision. But I would like to suggest 4 things that contributed to Cortez's success and brought his men to decision. And, he understood how important it is to have difficult and uncomfortable conversations. Jesus was our greatest example of this. It's somewhere, depending on what you call a question, it was somewhere between 308 and 339 questions that Jesus asked in the 30 years he was here. And 183 of those questions he asked to answer questions. But I believe that the man with the best question always wins. Another thing Cortez did is he understood the importance of team building and the amount of time he invested in building his team. He understood the power of repetition. The Bible talks about the foolishness of preaching. And I think we get that all wrong. I think the foolishness, the person that feels foolish is the preacher. One of the most powerful opportunities as a leader is repetition. And after you say it enough times that you feel foolish, say it again. He also understood the importance of great meetings, structured conversations that created action and results. So the success of every organization and every relationship, I believe, can be measured by 2 things. It's the conversations that we're not having and the conversations we're having poorly. I do business coaching for missions and a lot of leaders, and that's where I start. I go in and I ask them, I say, what's the conversations you're not having? And quite frankly, it usually takes at least 2 or 3 sessions before people actually are honest about the core, answer to that question. They usually skirt around it. But after 2 or 3 sessions, we actually get to what those questions are that they're not willing to ask or fearful to ask. And usually that's where I start my coaching, because, and we build off that, because that is their issue, is what they can't talk about. You know, Cortez understood the payoff that comes with clarity in an organization. Clarity, is accomplished through those meaningful conversations. And Cortez accomplished this on several levels. The first level he did was a clear vision. They were where they were going and repeated it often. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Habakkuk 2, 2, and 3. And that verse goes like this. It says, write it on the wall, write it in big letters so people can read while they run. The point is your vision is to attract the right people. And if your vision is hot enough, it's like Charles Wesley said, he said, catch on fire and people come and watch it burn. So I hope you guys are on fire out there. Second, Cortez had a plan. And, that's how we're going to pull it off. If you have a plan, you repeat it often, and you so there's no misunderstandings when you go to battle. Thirdly, Cortez was very careful that he enlisted the right people. People that would share his vision, they'd share his worldview, they had the same values. In his case, those were very earthy, I must say, but they were motivated by wealth and recognition, but and were they team players? And then the fourth was their role clear that they could fill, and fifth, he communicated a clear timeline. So that no one was in question what was going to happen when. So these are, there's no question in anyone's mind, I don't think, that when the time came to deliver their purpose, that the command was given to burn their boats. So I want to give you a few spiritual parallels here to kind of bring it together. We have a commander as well. He too is asking us to burn our boats and sell out for him and not look back. And I'm sure you guys all know that's Jesus, and not the leader of our country. But it will look different for each of us. Some I think are called to the field, some to support. But all of us are called to deliver on a purpose that God created us in His army to win that treasure. The commitment's the same though, and that's full surrender. Will we sacrifice our earthly securities for eternal treasures is the real question I think we all need to ask ourselves. I believe the beach meetings are coming to an end. I think we've reached a tipping point in our culture. At some point, every organization comes to a tipping point, and that tipping point is when the culture overrides the leadership. And I could go into more of that, but the culture of our country, the values that we were founded on are eroding the blessing that God has on our nation. So I think that timeline is becoming clear. And my daughter shared a verse with me yesterday and asked me the question. She said, it was Isaiah 60 verse 3, and it said, all nations will come to your light. And she asked me what that meant. And I told her, well, you need to go back and read that in context, because here's what it says. It says, arise, my people, let your light shine for all nations to see, for the glory of the Lord is streaming from you. Darkness as black as night shall cover all people on the earth, but the glory of the Lord will shine from you. All nations will come to your light. Mighty kings will come to see the glory of the Lord upon you. And I think, as you've all heard that saying that the darker the night, the brighter the light. And I think that's what that's all about. We're going to be tested in ways that, we're challenged. We never thought were possible. How many of you guys imagine that we'd be experiencing what we are today, February of this year? I don't think any of us could even go there. But, the financial security of generations before us have experienced will fail. It's just not a matter of if, but it's when. And there was a book my wife was currently reading from Billy Graham, and the book was called The Coming Storm, and it predicted an eerie what's actually experiencing today, almost to detail. And it was interesting to me that Billy Graham had that kind of foresight. So anyway, the financial accumulation, that we are all wealthy on this chat today. And the reality of that is it could be lost overnight. So my question that I would like to leave with you is, why would we not multiply our return of investment for an eternal return rather than allowing it to be lost to this world? There's souls that are at stake. The prize is far greater than the wealth and the reputation that Cortez's men had. So here's another question I'd like to leave with you, and that is, what will you invest now to save souls heading for eternity before the opportunity is lost? And this is my conclusion. I like to encourage all of you to be dealers of hope in a darkening world. Do not allow the ships that got you here limit you to deliver your created purpose. What got you here will not get you there. Be asking God that question: what's next for us? What's next for you? And I think this will begin with better conversations. Better conversations with God. He's your creator. Be men of prayer. Better conversations with your wife. She's your best friend. Better conversations with your children. And as dads, we have an unfair advantage with our children. I mean, who cares for us more than our kids? And, they have our back a lot more than what we give them credit. Our spiritual authority, I'm sure you guys attend some church of some time, but, God has placed that spiritual authority over to guide us and care for our souls. And then I like Jesus' example of 3 close friends and 12 disciples. And that's one thing that's stressed in CBMC, is that we're discipling men. And we all need 3 close friends to encourage us and cheer us on, but we also are created to give back, and we're created to give. And if we're not giving, our life is just not as fulfilling as it could be. So I feel CBMC offers another opportunity for us to claim that treasure. They're inviting all of us to join them in conversation of hope and opportunity to claim that eternal treasure. And CBMC is in the conversation business. Their conversations begin with the greatest story that will ever be told. We all have a role to play like never before as we face the turmoil and the unrest of this nation. And, the kingdoms of this world is going to pass away, but the kingdom that we're part of is going to last for eternity. So I'll just close with this, and that is, for Jesus' sake, burn your boats and claim eternal treasure, to those in darkness and sin. I hope that was encouragement to you. And I just want to ask a blessing on all of you as you go out and are in the workplace, that you would let your light shine brighter than ever before in this dark world. There's a lot of opportunities to have good conversations. So I appreciate all you guys' commitment to make a difference.